Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the Friday. It's Friday, July the 29th, 2016. Glad you could tune in today. I wanted to give you a little update on what's happening in the tropics as things are starting to percolate just a little bit. And so I thought I would explain what was happening out there. And really to give some folks in the islands down here, the Lesser Antilles, a heads up that there's a tropical wave headed their way. So this is the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook map from the National Hurricane Center, and this area is what we call Invest 97L, just a way to name it something other than a blob of clouds, and it's sort of the first step in the overall process whether or not something goes on to become a named storm or a hurricane. This is 96L. This was labeled yesterday before this was, so this is 96, and this is 97L over here. And they use the numbers 90 through 99 on these areas of interest, and they start over, and they letter L for Atlantic. So looking at the satellite picture, here's the larger envelope of energy associated with 97L, moving fairly rapidly to the west-northwest, will bring some squally conditions to portions of the Leeward Islands, and eventually maybe even the larger islands of the Northeast Caribbean Sea. And then from there, we're going to have to watch this as it gets into the Northwest Caribbean or maybe the Bay of Campeche. Something to watch down the road, because even though it might not be developing rapidly now, and it does have some hurdles out here, which I'll go over in a moment, this isn't going to just go away and vanish into nothing, and then that's the end of it over here or whatever. It's going to end up somewhere, especially this time of year, so we certainly have to monitor that. In the Eastern Pacific, this is Invest Area 91E. They've already run through all their numbers, 90 through 99, and they're starting over again. And the E, of course, is for Eastern Pacific. Good news is, folks along the coast of Mexico, including the Baja Peninsula here, you don't have to worry about either of these systems as they develop. If they do, they're going to stay on out to sea like everything else has so far to date. A wider perspective, looking at the west coast of Africa here. Now this is Invest Area 96L. Got a little bit of an S shape associated with it, perhaps trying to concentrate that convective activity or thunderstorms closer to the center, but as I'll show you, it's got a little bit of Saharan air around, maybe a little bit of that influencing 97L over here, but overall the environment out here in the main development region has improved for development potential over the last couple of weeks. And you can see that the extent of the Saharan air certainly starting to lift latitudinally, so that everything south of here is generally pretty moist and ready for activity as these pieces of energy move off of Africa and migrate westward. But to the north of 96L, we do have this Saharan air intrusion that's pretty strong. So as any thunderstorm activity develops here, it kind of ingests that dry air into it and then subsequently deflates itself. On the other hand, 97L over here moving fairly rapidly to the west and west-northwest, so it's not really able to sort of catch itself and bundle the energy. You can see, though, that it's made a dent in that Saharan air, as you can see clearly with this moisture surge, very large amplitude tropical wave. And it's just a matter of time, really. We're at the end of July. The next couple of weeks, things will start to get more and more active, I do believe, and folks need to be ready for that. And one more time, if you're here in the northern and northeast Caribbean Sea, be ready for this, because some of those squalls can be problematic, especially if you're caught unaware. Now the wind shear, this is the tropical Atlantic wind shear. The black line is, which I'm drawing red now, the climatological average, if you will. And right now, wind shear is below average in the tropical Atlantic, so that's not an inhibiting factor. This shows what we call the vertical instability, and it's been way below normal for a while, but look what's happened as of late. As the main development region has warmed sea surface temperature-wise, and the Saharan air layer has eroded, we are very close now to the climatological mean right here, and in fact, it hasn't really been like this since back in the winter time, and then right here in the late spring when hurricane season wasn't happening. So this is interesting if this continues to go up, and especially if it goes above the climatological norm towards the peak of the season, then things could become quite interesting and not in a good way. And we really need to be paying attention to that. This is the serious time of the season coming up here where things, certainly all 6 months is taken seriously, but the heart of the season is when the bulk of the activity forms, obviously, and we certainly want people to be prepared. So we'll watch these systems and see what happens. I don't think there's going to be any problems over the weekend, except maybe in the Caribbean, and I alluded to that a couple times already. So just make sure you're aware if you're down in that region or you know somebody who is there or is traveling to the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico and vicinity. Other than that, things are quiet, and that's good because I think August and September, especially latter part of August, probably going to be very busy around here. So there you go. Chew on that over the weekend, and make sure you're ready at the same time. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. Always good to contribute to Hurricane Pro in HD. Hopefully you learned something from it. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Monday.